So it's the start of a new week, new month and new quarter for the markets. But the question is, are we going into October or October? That's what we're going to look at today. We had a pretty interesting close to the last quarter, Q3, and now we've had quite an explosive beginning to Q4. So what we're going to do today is going through all the action of the main chart. So Bitcoin, Ethereum, take a look at the relationship between ETH and BTC, which is very interesting at the moment, and go through a bit of TradFi too. Slight change to what we do here on the Learning Crypto channel in terms of the video content. So on Mondays, pretty similar to what we've been doing before, big roundup of all the majors, the pairs that I've just gone through a minute ago, and also take a look at the events to watch out for this week. And then on the Friday, we're going to start focusing on some individual altcoins, because I believe that it's getting towards that time where you're going to want to start looking at packing your bags ready for a potentially bullish 2024. And then the following Monday will be the same, and also include a review of what we went over the week before, see how it all panned out. So I think it's fair to say going into Q4, all the bulls are expecting this to be the start of the bull run, and it's up only from here into the next year, whereas bears seem to think that we are going to get one more pullback, one more sort of shakeout before a potentially bullish 2024. I think having a look at the sentiment of the market, I think both bulls and bears are expecting a pretty decent 2024. It's just whether we get that one more leg down, one more pullback is where the disagreement is. So let's take a look at the charts and see where we are. So starting as we always do on the higher time frame on the monthly, BTC managed to hold 25.2k. That was the big threat coming into the monthly close towards the end of the last month. Were we going to get a monthly close below 25.2k? We didn't. We held. And it's pretty fair to say that this looks like a pretty good double bottom. Looks a bit clearer on the weekly, but definitely looks very good. Of course, this monthly candle starting off very positively. However, we are only 1 day and a few hours into it, so it's a bit too early to start doing any analysis on the current monthly candle. But last month's monthly candle finished pretty strong, I'd say. Bounced off 25.2, held support, and closed nice and green or white, or whatever color you use for positive candle closure. If we take a look at the weekly, as I say, looks a bit more obvious, the double bottom here from June, and then most recently in September. And last week's weekly candle looking very strong. I was starting to look at the last two weekly candles, especially this one on 18th of September, and then with the last week's weekly candle not looking too good, it had a spike, like a wick of its own. Started to look like we may be rolling over and losing 25.2k, but I was proven wrong, and we had a very good close to last week's candle. This week's weekly candle, again, very, very young, although not looking the best. There is still that threat of putting in a lower high from where we made that run up to 31.7k in sort of mid to early July. So there is that potential of another rollover back down to 25.2k. However, let's get onto the daily where all the action is. And as you can see, we had a very positive run into the end of the week. So you can see Wednesday, it all looked a bit doom and gloom, where we'd spiked up to 26.8 and retraced it almost immediately. But then on Thursday and Friday, pretty strong price action. And then over the weekend, absolutely took off. However, this mainly happened on Sunday night, Monday morning, as I'm sure you're probably already aware by now. And now we are currently in that key area of resistance at 28k. So the previous swing high here from the end of August on the 29th. And there's also resistance back here on the 10th of May and also the 28th, 29th of May as well. So a significant level, tough resistance in the past. And again, that threat of a potential lower high from earlier in the year in July and August, or double top potential here from the 29th of August as well. So not out of the woods yet. We definitely want to see a daily close above 28k. and hold there for another leg up towards 29.3. Try and retake that monthly level, or if we start to roll over here, the key level to hold as support is this 26.9k. It was the start of the uptrend that started on Saturday, and if we lose that level, we start to make those we start to lose the higher lows that we've been forming since the 12th of September. So we put in that low on the 11th and 12th of September, put in a higher low at the beginning of last week, so the 25th, 26th, 27th of September, and then of course we made another higher low here on the Saturday just gone. So we don't really want to be seeing daily close below that. That's when it starts looking bearish. If you remember on Friday's video, I talked about this 26.9k level before, but down on the 4-hour time frame. So we were here on Friday, we'd had the impulse on Thursday afternoon, and then I said this level was key to hold if we wanted to see more upside. If we lost this level, then it's starting to, or if we deviate this level rather, then it's starting to look pretty bearish, and we could trade all the way back down to 26.1. However, as you can see, big wick around probably the US Open time on Friday, held it for a number of 4-hour candle closes, and then off we went into the weekend. And as I say, if we break it down to the 1 hour, you can see this huge move at 11 o'clock last night on a Sunday. Big pump, and normally what's happened in the past is when we've had these big pumps on Sunday evenings, they retrace almost immediately within a few hours. However, that's not happened this time. So is it different this time in terms of, are we going to sustain this, or is it just a delayed reaction and we're going to see a rollover? We'll take a look into the other factors that can come into play, but as I say, not looking like a great daily candle so far, looking like a bit of a weak close compared to what we got earlier this morning. Let's see what the candle close gives us and how the rest of the week pans out. As I say, need to get above 28k and hold it there to sort of clear this danger area and look for a clear run up to 29.3. Let's go ahead and look at ETH, because ETH has been performing very well recently, outperforming Bitcoin. However, I think that's come to an end now, especially if you just look at today, but we'll go into the relationship between ETH and BTC in a bit more detail in a second. In terms of Ethereum by itself and the USD pair, we need to see a monthly close back above 1721, reclaim this level, because at the moment this is one big deviation. This could just be a bearish retest here at 1721 before a rollover and come down a bit further, maybe to 1200 where the start of this leg of the move is. However, if we can reclaim 1721, then that looks like a nice little deviation, and we could trade all the way up to 2300. So I have to check that monthly close the nearer the time. In terms of the weekly, again, not very clear. I thought over the past few weeks that we were going to start trading down to 1370 once we'd lost that monthly level 1721, and as you can see, it was looking all pretty bearish, especially on that 18th of September week. That weekly candle looked hideous after a bit of a rally the week before, so I thought we were going to drop down to 1370. We didn't, and the reason being, if we go to the daily time frame, we held this 1583 daily level, which was crucial, that we talked about time and time again, multiple tests, and as you can see, hugged that support for the best part of a week before taking off on the 28th of September, on the Thursday. So we had that big wick, the same as BTC, retraced that evening, and then the Ethereum ETF futures news came out on on Thursday, which sent price up. We got a daily close above 1651, important daily level, had a nice bullish retest on the Friday, and then spent the weekend shooting up. And again, on Friday, talked about this 4-hour level on Ethereum 1666. I said important to hold this level, otherwise if we break below that and deviate it, then we could deviate the daily level of 1651, and then it all looks pretty bearish and could end up all the way back down to 1583. But as you can see, big wicks again, held the level, even came down for another retest on the Saturday, and then off we went again. If we go down to the 1 hour time frame, the big move happened at 11 o'clock on Sunday, but as you can see, we've almost fully retraced that Sunday evening pump, so not looking too good for Ethereum at the moment. So let's get into the relationship between ETH and BTC. So we've talked about this a lot over the past few months on this channel, and again, this bearish trend line on the weekly time frame proving to still be resistance, as you can see. So we had a little rally last week's weekly candle, testing the bearish trend line and also the previous weekly range low at 0.062. If we go down to the daily, I talked about this level being support back last week, had that decent bounce. I thought that a local top would form here at 0.061, this previous daily level. It went a little bit further, as I say, went up to that weekly range low, had two big wicks over the weekend, and then a big red candle today, as you can see, absolutely melting through this 0.061 level. So that's clearly not holding a support. This looks pretty bearish. This looks like one big deviation on the daily. We're back in this support zone. However, having been rejected by the weekly range low and this bearish weekly trend line, it doesn't look good for ETHBTC at all. If we lose this level at 0.06, then we are going to head down to 0.053. And as I've said countless times, I personally think that's a really good place to pick up some ETH and certain alts in their alt BTC pairs. So we'll certainly start to cover some of those alts in more detail over the coming weeks. So something to watch out for, as I say, over the next coming weeks. If we go to Bitcoin Dominance then, this is starting to look pretty strong again, which is no surprise considering the weakness of ETHBTC. On the monthly, you can see we held this support at the previous monthly range high, having a nice little bounce. Of course, this monthly candle was a little bit too early to talk about. But on the weekly, the thing that we were watching was the formation of some lower highs that were potentially forming. So we had this high here, which was back in June, July time. Then we put in a lower high a few weeks later in August, and then it looked like we were potentially putting in, another lower high a couple of weeks ago. I should turn my magnet off, but I can't bother. Just here on the 18th of September, but as you can see, it's all started to turn around now. So if we can get a weekly close above sort of 50.75%, that breaks that downtrend, and then I think BTC will sort of basically reclaim its dominance and go for another run, maybe even breaking the 52% BTC dominance resistance level, and maybe head towards that 56-57%. And again, that should line up quite nicely with ETHBTC hitting 0.053, and I think that's where things might start to turn around and ETH and alts might start taking over from BTC. So let's see what happens with that. If we go into TradFi then, which has had a big impact on crypto so far, as you can see, we did manage to hold the monthly support at the previous monthly range high on the S&P futures at 4327, I think. Anyway, we're actually closed slightly below. Let's zoom in a little bit. Where were we? Friday. Well, no, I mean, you could argue either way. A very, very, very slight close or a hold. We're basically just going to have to see where this monthly close ends up. But you could argue either way, but still pretty close. And if we go to the weekly, again, not really much to decipher on the weekly at the moment. Not really a decent level of support until you get down to this level here around 4190, which I'm just going to stick on my charts now. So you've got that level there, which we could potentially retrace to, find some support. If we go down to the daily, as you know, we broke down from this daily range low on the Friday 22nd, tried to reclaim it, failed on the Tuesday, and then it all looked pretty bearish all of last week. We had that bearish retest again of the daily range low on the Friday, and today's not looking much better. As you can see, 0.5% down for the day. It started off pretty well. Where was it? Where was the open? Must have been back. Oh, there you go, where the gap is. Started off pretty well, but then fell off a cliff around 10 o'clock this morning. It's had a couple of attempts, particularly around the the actual US market open. Of course, this is the futures chart, so it has longer trading hours. As you can see, we tried to push up during the US market open, particularly here at around 4 o'clock, dumped back down and failed. So that is also what's bringing crypto down with it. So is the S&P going to continue to drop? The VIX still has plenty of room to move up. Of course, remember the saying, when the VIX is high, time to buy. When the VIX is low, look out below. So usually when the VIX goes up into the 30s, you see a top in the VIX, which is usually a bottom in the S&P or risk markets. Or risk assets, I should say, and then you get those reversals to the upside. So something to keep an eye on. Next daily level support is down here at 4273, where we had this cluster here back at the beginning of June. So let's see where we end up and if it impacts or continues to impact BTC and Ethereum. And then finally, the dollar, which has been the biggest impact of the crypto market so far, absolutely surging. There's no breaks on the dollar train. Looks like it's heading straight for 107.68 as we discussed last week. I think this is the 13th. Let me quickly count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Sorry, 12th green weekly candle so far forming on the dollar. Cleared this resistance at 105.5, held it as support, no problem. And as I say, it looks like it's heading straight for 107.68. Not really much in the way of resistance now either, in terms of the daily time frame. So if the dollar continues to rally and the S&P continues to fall, then you're probably going to see crypto or Bitcoin follow it. And with ETH's weakness to BTC at the moment, if BTC falls, I think ETH and alts are going to suffer even worse. So something to keep an eye on as you enter some, or as you look up some trades this week. So a very important daily close, as I say today, particularly on Bitcoin, in and around that 28k region. A daily close above sort of 28.1. And you could start to look for some bullish continuation. If we hold here and start to roll over, then that looks very bearish indeed. And as I say, ETH and alts will probably fare a lot worse, with ETHBTC testing this support again. Don't like how quickly it's come back down to retest it. So a daily close below 0.059, and ETH and alts will suffer very badly, I think, in my opinion. So that's it from today. As I say, I'll be back on Friday. I'll quickly go over the in fact, before I go, the US economic calendar, which I forgot to go through at the beginning. But basically, not too much going on. It looks like there's a lot going on, but the important stuff coming towards the end of the week. So on Thursday, we've got the initial jobless claims, and on Friday, we've got the unemployment report and unemployment rate as well. So could be some volatility towards the end of the week, but to be honest, there's already been volatility this morning, so it could be a really volatile week. As I say, new week, new month, new quarter. I think this quarter is going to be really, really good, really action-packed, and hopefully good for trading. So hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, drop a like, drop a comment underneath the video to let us know what alts you'd like us to cover. Have a good week, and I'll see you on Friday.